My name's Priscilla and I'm from Sydney, Australia. If you are a new member of our community, please accept our wholehearted welcome and know that if you're unsure or have any questions about our practices and topics, we're all here to help. And if you're a regular, well, welcome back. It is customary in Australia to begin any meeting by acknowledging the traditional owners of our land. So, in the spirit of reconciliation, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we walk, study, and reside, the Wodi people of the Dharawal Nation, and I pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I also pay my respects to the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all are. The check-in sessions have been developed by our Communities of Practice team and the entire community. While we are not a problem-solving group, these sessions aim to provide space and to develop a reflective practice in response to changes. Guided by humanistic Buddhism, we would like to cultivate our practices and build memorable friendships. If you've been following along, you'll know that we've been led by Jonathan in an introspective journey towards compassion. This being the last week on our mini journey, Jonathan leads us to deepen our compassion. Please welcome Jonathan.
Thank you, Priscilla, and auspicious greetings, everyone. Welcome one and all from the 10 directions. Now, today we will continue the theme of compassion, but focus especially on the deepening of our compassion and well beyond the bounds of empathy. And in considering compassion, we reflect on the life of the late Venerable Master Xing Yun, a life that embodied compassion of the highest order. The next slide. So just reflecting on grace, this has been the structure, if you like, and you can review these slides later, they are accessible, but we've moved from the first 3 elements and we're now going to cover briefly the final 2. We've already considered that in the preparation of compassion, we must consider the gathering, the preparation really, the gathering of our attention and whatever else we need to thoroughly embark upon an act of compassion. Once aroused, we recall our intention and purpose, and we attune ourselves. We attune to ourselves, to our inner feelings and emotions and thoughts, and also to the other, and we attune to the relationship. So today we'll move on and we'll be considering just what to do in the moment when you are with a suffering person. What is the most appropriate, most skillful? What is the one thing or the 2 things that must be done, which may be doing nothing. It may be just sitting. And secondly, we'll consider engagement. So in acting wisely, choosing just what is needed, and perhaps without any specific activity. And then finally, ending. Any compassionate interaction does have a conclusion. And with the ending, we experience gratitude to ourselves and to the other person. We generate self-compassion. Certain words may flow to oneself and to the other, and then there is completion and a sense of equanimity. Next slide. I do want to mention that under the theme of unity of minds, which is the essence of bodhicitta, there are a number of individuals who are Buddhist psychiatrists, and they engage in this process, and they indicate that this is not therapy, this is basically a deep human interaction, but it has a very beneficial effect. And I just mentioned that these individuals, as it happens, the 4 prominent individuals are women, and they talk about the importance of spiritual attunement, forgetting oneself, allowing one's mind to be with the other, with full attention and curiosity, allowing a pure transcendent love to arise. A real tenderness, sensitivity, and openness to the suffering one, together with our own respectful vulnerability, which we're allowed to expose. We relinquish memories, desires, excessive thinking. We release perceived truths and timetables and expectations. We allow the other to unfold into their own reality, to live their own destiny, and to release possibly hidden parts that may have been waiting for decades for a mind such as yours, with the space and loving attention necessary for their emergence. The next slide. So bodhicitta, the unity of great wisdom and precious compassion, the essence of the Buddha's 84,000 teachings, the awakening mind that aspires to enlightenment. This is what we are seeking in order to have the perfect ability to free all beings from suffering and lead them to peerless happiness. And one powerful way to generate bodhicitta is the practice of equalizing and exchanging oneself with others, as taught by Shantideva. This can include the practice of Tonglen, which may be a topic for a future presentation. And from the Bodhicharya Vatara, all the joy in the world comes from the desire for another's happiness. And all the suffering in the world comes from the desire for one's own happiness. And then quoting the late Venerable Master Xing Yun from his work, An Honest Revelation, I have abided by the following principles: to retreat in order to advance, to regard the multitude as myself, to own nothing in order to have something, and to take joy in the truth of emptiness. But bearing all that in mind, let us meditate together. So adopt a comfortable sitting position comfortably, and take 3 slow, deep, mindful breaths. And place your right hand over your heart to evoke the experience of compassion. So last week, we found ourselves sitting beside the bed of a suffering one, an older companion in our life who lives alone, perhaps a neighbor or a particular friend of your mother's, someone who you did not know so well until this moment. When you arrived at the bedside, she was crying in her plight of serious illness that had just been diagnosed. But with your compassionate arrival, she sank into a deep, calm sleep. As you held her forearm gently, you offered conditional presence, unconditional presence. Last week, we followed the rhythm of her living breath and found ourselves sharing in her fears. We knew what it was like to be somebody else, but we were supported by the acceptance of compassion. This deep unity arose whilst your companion slept, and she seemed to be one with yourself, and within your own heart, a quivering sensation arose. So as you sat comfortably, time passed imperceptibly, the room darkened in the dusk. You were finally where you wanted to be. Your companion stirred and woke with a sublime smile of joy. She thanked you from the depth of her heart. Both you and she had moved forward in some way, with a new understanding and a sense of transcendence. You then heard soft voices downstairs, in fact, several voices. The neighborhood night shift had arrived, gliding into the bedroom almost mystically, bearing gifts of fragrance, simple items of food, fresh garments and new linen, to care for their neighbor in distress. A team of inspired household bodhisattvas filled the room with a palpable warm love. The personal needs of the suffering one were met, the bed linen changed, nourishment attended to with mindfulness and patience, and so many delicate aromas of peppermint, lavender, clary sage, lemongrass and sandalwood, and just a hint of rosewater wafted through the air. Then all these beings left the room but one, the one to sit with the suffering one for the first hour or two. Then each of the others would return, one at a time in sequence throughout the long night. Their compassionate focus solely and soulfully on the suffering one, who slept soundly and soundlessly. You wander home through the dark night, but glowing with a deep, all-pervasive warmth, your life having discovered a meaning that had always been present. So now let us just continue the meditation in silence and meditate on any warm feelings arising in your own vast, compassionate heart for the next minute or so. All right, you can slowly open your eyes and return your consciousness to the room around you. And back to you, Priscilla.
Thank you, Jonathan. Now we are invited to contemplate the following thoughtful questions which Jonathan's posed for us. Firstly, have you ever enjoyed a deep, authentic, and honest conversation with another when you wish the experience would last forever? What was happening? Secondly, can you remember the kindly and supportive words of another that changed your life for the better, and perhaps also your perception of yourself? We'll be placed in groups of 3 to 4 to share and discuss. In the discussion, we recommend you spend some time getting to know each other and then discussing our questions. There will be some Zoom notifications to guide you, but feel free to let the flow of your discussions guide you also. Our sessions are guided by metta, which is unconditional love and kindness for all living beings. Let's use these breakout sessions to express and receive loving kindness to and from one another. Take time to share, pause, and listen. We'll also ask you to share some of your findings with a larger group at the end of the breakout discussion. But for now, let's go to our breakout rooms for rich and nourishing discussions. Welcome back, everyone. I'll just ask Jonathan now to read out any comments that might have been discussed in your in the chat box. So please feel free to write any insights you've got into the chat box.
Yes, kindly and supportive words. Yes, think positive thoughts. Stay positive. Yeah, do your best to feel positive at least. It can be very difficult. So sometimes we have to accept the way we are. And thankfully in the Dharma, there are so many wise things that we can do if we're not feeling supportive or positive. Yeah, here we go, Liam. Sometimes it can be stimulating and challenging. I've got to say, the act of compassionate action is part of the solution, if not the entire solution. To an individual sense of melancholy and whatever else we feel, think about someone else and try your best to do something to engage with them. And I think when you're looking at the eyes of somebody else, it's amazing the impact it has. You know, we feel that we've chosen wisely. Yeah, listen and be attentive. Yeah, the absence of actual words, but I think it's that unconditional love that seems to be transmitted by the eyes at an appropriate distance. And it has a big impact, including our relationship with the world at large. Love and care for ourselves, yep, we have to. But knowing that a relationship with another can help us to move a little bit, shift internally, and opening our hearts, that requires practice. How do you open your heart? Where is the little clasp or the button to open the heart? How do you do it? What way does it open up? I mean, and open it, can you close it? What if it stays open?
Thank you, Jonathan. We might just finish up there, but keep on writing in the chat box and we'll keep discussing in the plenary after the session. We really hope the check-in session was helpful to you and that you experienced the unconditional love and compassion of this community. But for anyone who might be experiencing a greater need than what today could meet, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. And you can also reach out to the professional organisations on the screen. Next Sunday, we'll be introducing a new facilitator as we transition into a new series of contemporary topics. Liam Carver will be guiding us through an exploration of true intention. So please join us for another inquisitive and introspective Sunday. As we check out today, let's recite the dedication of merits together to send love and compassion to whoever is in need.
Let us now dedicate the goodness of what you have done to all living beings. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our gratitude and humility give rise to great vows.
Thank you, Jonathan, for your generous sharing these few weeks, Liam for hosting, and Lai Chin for being our IT master today. And thank you everyone for joining us. We'll start our plenary shortly, so please stay around if you have time. Otherwise, we will see you again all next week at 11 a.m.